Pseudo deer, near deer. Lots of different nicknames have been applied to the strange group of mammals known as dromomerycids. They are found in North America from about 22 million years ago until about 6 million years ago and came in every shape and size with a variety of different kinds of cranial appendages. Scrappy specimens had been found by Cope and Marsh back in the 1880s, but the first genus to be formally described was Dromomeryx by Earl Douglas in 1909. It was built something like a deer or an antelope, but instead of having deer-like antlers, which are shed every year from the bucks, or having horns with keratinous sheaths on them like bovids, cattle, sheep, and goats have, it had solid bony horns which had no sheath on them at all. It is possible that they were like the ossicones found in giraffes, which have a bony core surrounded by skin. Either way, dromomerycids are not deer and not antelopes, but a uniquely American group that may have performed the role that deer and antelope perform elsewhere. The next dromomericid to be found and described in 1920 was the Leadomeryx, from large cores around 20 million years old in western Nebraska near agate fossil beds. It was also built like a deer or an antelope, but had short, stumpy horns over each of his eye sockets. Large quarry samples were found at Leadomeryx, allowing us to know something about their skeletal anatomy and also how males differ from females. Since 1937, almost a dozen different genera of dromomericids were discovered and now described. They range all the way back from about 20 million years ago with Leadomeryx and Sinclairomyryx, which had horns curved forward like a bow with a knob on the end. Female skulls, however, apparently had no horns at all. The next group of dromomericids were Drepanomeryx and Rhacomeryx, from beds around 15 to 18 million years old in western North America. Rhacomeryx had thickened horns which tapered upward and inward, while the Drepanomeryx had horns that were shaped like a scythe or a sword blade. Another member of this group was Subdromomeryx, with a shortened horn over its eye socket. A third great branching point of the dromomericids was Barbaromyryx and Bouromyryx. Barbaromyryx had a short stumpy horn over its eye and a broad, flat ridge over the back of its neck. Bouromyryx had slightly longer horns right over its eyes and a ridge over the back of its skull. But the most remarkable member of this lineage was Procraniosauris, known from a beautiful complete skull with two vertical horns over the eyes and a large curved horn over the back of its head. This specimen has become a classic example of the different kinds of horns seen in dromomericids. Its relative, Craniosauris unicornis, had a pair of horns over the eyes and a long, straight horn straight over the back of its neck, like a unicorn. Craniosauris and Procraniosauris lived in the great savanna ecosystem of the Miocene North America, when the landscape was ruled by horses, camels, rhinos, pronghorns, and many other types of hoof mammals. The final lineage of dromomericids is Eumecerus and Pediomyryx, from beds between 10 million years ago and 5 million years ago in western North America. Pediomyryx had a pair of horns plus a horn in the back, and Eumecerus had a horn that stuck way out, straight in the back. This was the great radiation of American dromomericids from about 21 million years ago till about 5 million years ago. With the extinction of Eumecerus, they vanished from North America. Meanwhile, in Eurasia were a similar group of animals known as the Paleomericids, which had their own set of bizarre bony cranial appendages. They have been known since the early 1830s, starting with Paleomyryx and the bizarre four-horned Ampelomeryx, which had a pair of horns over its eyes and a slingshot of two branching horns over the back of its skull. It is best known from beds around 15 million years old in Spain and Western Europe. Stranger still was Xenocaryx, known from bizarre horns that look sort of like handles found on the back of its skull. Along with Triceromyryx and Toromeryx, it is found in Spain and other parts of Western Europe. For decades, the Dromomericidae in North America were thought to be members of the Paleomericidae, but the most recent analysis puts the Paleomericidae as relatives of giraffes, while the American Dromomericids are thought to be relatives of the muntjac. Whatever the American dromomerycids are actually related to, they formed a very surprising and important example of how cranial appendages originated in many different groups of even toed-hoof mammals. Sadly, the last of them vanished around 5 million years ago, so we'll never know what they looked like, how they lived, or who they were related to.